Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded, about 6 months to be exact, but you know, at least I'm here. And today we're gonna be doing some more Elden Ring content. Ooh, who would have guessed? I've been thinking about this video for a while, just been plucking the courage to actually upload. But we will be ranking the Elden Ring boss fights. Wow, I know, so unique. But the big difference is here, I would say I've never particularly been good at playing Elden Ring. I'm not one of those sweats, you know. I'm just a regular Joe, and I think my perspective would be that of a regular Joe. I don't think I did a single boss fight with less than 40 attempts. So this is truly coming from the employed category. So if you end up disagreeing with my thoughts and my opinions, fair, you know, I'm not even going to be mad at that. It's just this is my experience, and if you disagree, just tell me in the comments. What do you think? Should it have been a higher ranking? Should it have been a lower ranking? And yeah, this is what we are here to discuss. The lowest ranking we're going to be using is from E upwards, D, C, B, A, and then of course S tier fights. E is your worst boss fights. These are the boss fights that are lackluster. They just suck, okay? And then D rank, these are the boss fights that could have actually been better used as other boss fights, if that makes sense. At least that's the system we are using. And then C, this is overall just an okay boss fight. Could be different based on different play styles. Obviously, if you're using a bleed build, it's probably going to be an easy fight, but if you are trying to do a troll build, then this could be a little bit difficult. And then B rank, not exactly as good, but still a good fight, you know, not up there with the greats, but not down there in the dumps. And then A rank is you're almost perfect. There's just one or two things that we're missing. And then S rank is obviously, the boss fight was great, the music was great, it felt so rewarding when you won. It's just all the good stuff, you know, the greats of the greats. And I'm going to be quite strict with my rankings, so we're not going to just pop everything in S rank, even though I probably would have done that after my 4th playthrough. But now that I've actually had a decent amount of experience in Elden Ring, I will try to be fair. If anything, I will try to be very strict with my rankings. We're going to be harsh. We're going to be like that English teacher that gave you fucking C's and D's for your grades when you absolutely smashed it. But you know what? Let's go. Let's just hop straight into it. Okay, and then to start things off, we've got Leonine Misbegotten. And I'm going to be super honest. I think a lot of people went through this playthrough a couple of times at least without ever encountering him. He is an optional boss fight, and I think knowing that a lot of people either just didn't bother or they just didn't know about him. I know I didn't know about him until my 2nd or 3rd playthrough. He's tucked away somewhere in the corner of Castle Morn, so he is pretty hard to find. The boss fight in general is not great. I don't want to say not great because that seems a little bit shitty, but he just didn't seem very difficult. And yeah, I mean, what else can I say besides that? We aren't just using difficulty. I mean, we're looking at a bunch of different things, but overall, I think I'm going to put him in D tier. I think we'll spend a little bit more effort with the more important bosses, but overall, I'd say, yeah, D tier for Mr. Leonine. Okay, and then next up, we've kind of just meshed them together, but Margit or Morgott, depending on who you want to refer to him as. We're going to go with Morgott because that's his actual name. But I would say his first fight is probably one of the first boss fights that most people get to go through with Elden Ring. So he's a pretty big deal. He kind of, I think, sets the tone for how the boss fights are going to be. His first fight is terrifying because especially with your first playthrough, you see this, whoa, this big ass motherfucker. So he's got that going for him. I think his first boss fight isn't as crazy. His second boss fight, however, I think is quite good. I definitely put it up there. I think understanding the lore, I didn't know too much about it the first playthrough I had, but once I understood the lore and I knew exactly what he was about, you know, this kid that got cast away, it's just, yeah, it hits home a little bit more, I would say. In terms of the music, solid. The intro cutscene, solid, great. The fight itself, I would say, is really good. It is, I enjoyed it at least. The exchanges that you have, his moveset for his second fight is insane. His second phase is awesome. So I think we're going to put Morgott, which name are we using here, guys? We are going to put Morgott, I'd say, in B tier. I think I'm going to piss some people off for that one, but hear me out. Considering the other boss fights that we are going to get into or have already gotten into, I don't want to put him too high and then, you know, we have to put the other ones in afterwards and then it doesn't scale properly. And I don't want to put him too low because then the bar is kind of set like all weird, you know. So I think B tier is super fair for him. Moving on. Next up we have Godrick the Grafted, which would be the first remembrance boss most people fight. I don't see how you would go around fighting other bosses first. I know you can, but for most people this is your first remembrance boss. And I think it's great, you know, the music is awesome, the fight scene is awesome, the cutscene is sick, especially when he chops off his fucking arm and whacks a fucking dragon on it. Like, I mean, mwah, chef's kiss, you know. I think we're also going to put him in B tier, and I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me for that, but my only gripe with this boss fight is that it is too easy. Especially once you figured out his moveset, then the fight becomes super trivial. And I think this is supported by the fact that there are so many mods that Elden Ring has that all it does is just improve the boss fight by making him more difficult, either by increasing his health pool or just making him do a little bit more damage. Either way, that's where I'm putting him. Moving on. Up next, we have the Red Wolf. Now, I think the concept of fighting a giant beast, a giant wolf at that, with a fucking energy sword is super, super cool. One that uses magic on top of that. It's a very, very cool concept. I just wish that we didn't get that fight in that little space. I think a monster, or a boss, I should say, like the Red Wolf, kind of deserved like a cool arena, you know, or just like a bigger one. It felt like a very cramped space to fight him. So I would say overall, good boss fight. Just needed a bigger arena, and for that I think we're gonna pop him in C tier. And then up next we have Rennala. Now let me just preface this by saying her second phase is an awesome fight, and I love the lore behind her, and I love the lore behind the fight in general, and that earns a shitload of points in my books. But, and this is a big but, her first phase sucks ass. And I don't care what anybody says, it sucks, okay? The scholars, or the little students on the floor, they are just straight up annoying to deal with. And once you break like a bubble and she drops to the floor, killing her is super easy. The only issue is it's super easy. So they could have added like a better first phase for that fight. Second phase is awesome. I have no complaints there. Visually, I think this is one of the best fights in the game. So I think we're going to put this one in... Ooh, I don't know, chat. What we're thinking? I want to say A tier, just because I like the fight so much, but I think that would be unfair to the other people in this list. So we're going to go with another B tier. I know, boring, but I think it's fair. Okay, then next up we have the Royal Knight Loretta. And this is also one of those fights where I think the setting is super cool. And my first playthrough, I remember seeing like a YouTube short just before I fought her about using lightning attacks on the water, and I was spamming the shit out of it, and it didn't seem to make that much of a difference. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. This fight I think is awesome. I think once you learn her moveset, she's actually quite a fun fight to go through. Her rewards for defeating her is quite shitty. I think you get the Loretta's Great Bow from fighting her. I can't remember. But I remember the spell being shit, and I remember being super chuffed that I got it, and then I tested it out and it was terrible. So I think she's also one of those fights that's good, but not crazy good. It's like alright, and I think because of that, I'm going to pop her in C tier. You guys let me know if that's fair. Maybe she could have gone higher, but I think C tier is pretty fair. Okay, next up we have the Ancestor Spirit, and I think I'm going to put the Ancestor Spirit and the Regal Ancestor Spirit together just to save time. They are essentially the same boss fights. I think the one's just a little bit more like juiced up. But man, can I just say the game devs absolutely cooked. Not even just with these two bosses in general, but just like Noxtella in general. Like the scenery, the music, everything about this is probably one of my favorite scenes in the game. My first time fighting the Ancestral Spirit was just like, I think I died a couple of times just because I was so in awe of the fight itself, just like watching this giant moose jump around in this like beautiful blue light. You know what? Moveset wise, maybe not the best boss, but in terms of like visuals and music, this is just like, you feel like you're almost ascending when you're in this boss fight. And because of that, I'm gonna put these two as our first A tier fight. Sue me, I think it's just that good, and I think there actually might be quite a few people that agree with me on this one. And next up we have our boy Radahn, the big OG himself. Hey man, can I just say, I fell in love with this dude. Pause. Well before I think I even fought him, because like I was following Elden Ring for a very long time before I actually started playing it myself. And this guy, man, I didn't even know who he was, and I already thought this guy was like super sick. And then once I learned about his lore, this fight just went from A to A++. You know, this was like such a good fight. I think it's super cool, the scenery for this one. You're fighting in like those, like the desert, you know, that was super awesome. The fact that you could like recruit other heroes to help you fight, because it's more of like a funeral for him than an actual battle. It's like his final stand before we lay him to rest. So this fight just goes, I think, in S tier. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just a good fight, good music, good movesets. Second phase, I think, caught people off guard very, very much so. So we're going to put him up there, S tier. If you disagree, I get it. Maybe he should have been A tier. Maybe it's just my bias, but he's going S tier for sure. And then next up, we have ourselves. Or I should say the Mimic tier. Now, it's a pretty popular cheese that before you get into the arena, you kind of just take, like, you unequip your weapons. But this fight is quite cool in a logical sense. Like the idea of fighting yourself as one of the bosses is such a cool concept. It just wasn't carried out the best. Like, I mean, all you have to really do is unequip your weapons, walk into the boss fight, and then kick his ass. But if you aren't doing that, this is a good fight. And I think it would be fair to put this in B tier, I would say. And I don't really have much more to say than that. It's a cool concept, like I said. So I'm gonna stick with my guns and keep him in B tier. And then up next we have the Dragonkin. My gripe with this guy is that this shouldn't even really be a boss fight, to be honest. Super lackluster. I would even go as far as to put this in E tier. I think putting it in D tier. Back to the moose. No, I think putting it in D tier is a bit generous. So I'm gonna pop this in E and call it a day. There's not much else to say on that one. Moving on to the Magma Wyrm, which I'd say not a bad fight. I've always had like a thing for dragons, and technically this isn't a dragon, but it's close enough. Okay. Where do I put him though? I think D tier might be a little bit too far down. C tier seems too generous. Can we get like a C.5 maybe? I think that would be fair. Cool boss fight. And that's all I really have to say about it. Not much else to add there. I'm gonna pop this one in D tier as well. I think if you end up taking the normal route to Leyndell, you almost would guarantee to never see him. You only pretty much get to see this boss fight if you take the back roads to Leyndell. So I'm gonna attribute that to the quality of it. I mean, it's a barely a large amount of effort for a boss fight that most newbies aren't really gonna get to see. Next up we have Elemer the Briar. And I think this boss design is super cool. He kind of gave me Sith vibes with the way he can like fucking throw his sword and then almost use like the force to pull it back to him. Very cool concept. Other than that, I don't know. If you are an absolute god at parrying, which I am not, this fight is super cool. It almost feels like a little bit of a dance between you and Elemer. The arena as well isn't bad. Okay, it's just small, I would say. Yeah, and besides that, I don't really have much else to say about him. Cool design, cool powers, cool moveset. Mid arena, if I can say it like that. I think we're gonna put him in C tier. He kind of has the same issue as the Red Wolf in that it's a cool design, and I think they would have done more justice putting him in a better scene, if that makes sense. So into C tier you go. Okay, so my dumbass has just realized that we actually have a Margit and we have a Morgott, and we kind of just ranked them together. But I think the Margit fight actually is in B tier, and we do have the Morgott as a separate boss fight. And I think it is fair if we put him in A rank. And hear me out. Everything I said earlier about how his lore and him being like the last true king that's defending Leyndal, even through all the shit they put him through, along with the music and the boss fight, and even the cutscene after the boss fight where you kind of like lay him to rest, is super, super cool. I think the only complaint that most people will probably agree with me is that he is a bit squishy, especially considering how late game of a boss he is. He just goes down a little bit too easy, but everything else I can only say good things about. His voice acting, kudos to the voice actor there, man. He smashed it, knocked it out of the park. His moveset is like almost like a dance, and a lot of fights like that in Elden Ring do tend to feel like a dance more than a fight, and this is especially apparent with him. And I mean, it's in Leyndal, it's right before the tree. It's an awesome boss arena. It's so good that they used it for 2 fights, which I think is super fair, because I would use it for 2 fights as well. Then next up we have Astel, Naturalborn of the Void. I think this is a fuck-ass fight. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't enjoy it. It just came off more annoying than anything else. But it does also have that same beauty that you get when you fight the Ancestor Spirit, if that makes sense. And I think the design is awesome. It leans heavily into that like cosmic horror vibe, and I think Elden Ring devs were definitely going for that kind of design when they made him. It's definitely something that you could see out of like a Stephen King novel, or something in like the Cthulhu universe, if that makes sense. I think the whole like star power shit is pretty cool. It's definitely up there with the best designs of bosses in the game. I think the fight itself is pretty shitty. And also the camera in this fight I remember being pretty bad. Besides that, I think it is overall a good fight. And because of the pros and cons of this fight, I think I'm going to pop him in B tier. That seems fair. Next up, we have the diddler himself, Mohg. Now, Mohg is one of those bosses that has like a special place in my heart, because I think when game devs go out of their way to ensure that a boss has like a very cool build up and like a special place, and by special place I mean the whole entire idea of Mohg Palace is super, super cool. I think the devs definitely have their bosses where they put a little bit more effort into their design and their story and their scenery and stuff like that. The music is awesome. I think Mohg's design is awesome. He has like this very like intimidating aura about him. His moveset is super cool. I think the idea of any kind of boss wielding blood magic is like a win in my books. Shout out my Choso fans, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah, I think we're gonna put Mohg in A tier. He's a good boss fight. To keep things simple, I'm going to pop Sewer Mohg in like C or D tier, just because it's exactly the same fight, just watered down. I hope people aren't mad at me for that one. It just feels like one of those, again, unnecessary boss fights. If anything, maybe just a little bit lazy. I think sometimes the devs just end up reusing assets. And when I'm looking at this ranking video, there is a surprisingly large amount of duplicates or the same assets being used for 2 of the same fight, essentially. You know, I mean, you notice it with the Ancestor Spirit, with the Astel, even technically Radahn. I mean, obviously we're talking about DLCs now, but you get my point. There's a lot of the same fights. It's just like the good one and then the less good one, so we'll leave it at that. Next up we have the Godskins, not the duo though, just the solo fat one, which I'm gonna put in D tier. The fight isn't all that great. If anything, it's just a little bit annoying. We're gonna skip on down to the duo quickly, and this fight is a bit more popular amongst people. I think people regard this as a better boss fight, and I agree. I think the sleeping pot cheese does take a little bit away from the fight, but if you aren't doing that fight with the cheese, this fight is quite cool. It is a little bit buggy, and I've done quite a few playthroughs, and I come up with a bug where I'll kill both and then somehow one comes back even after the boss fight's technically over. I don't know, has anyone else gotten that problem before? Maybe. Anyway, I'm going to pop the Godskin Duo in C tier. Up next we have Rykard. And Rykard, I think, also falls into one of those categories where the scenery for his boss fight is awesome. And it's definitely one of the best scenes in the game in terms of arenas. The fight itself, I think, is also falls under that. It's a little bit too easy. And I think sometimes I don't even pick up the Serpent Hunter just for a little bit of an extra challenge. Because once you use it, the boss fight does end up being a little bit too easy. He does drop his sword after you fight him, and I think his weapon is one of the coolest weapons in the game. And I think because of that, we'll put Rykard in B tier. Up next, we have the Twin Gargoyles, which for some reason, I found this to be one of the harder boss fights in the game. Like, this one sucked, bro. I remember playing Seamless Co-op with my friend, and we were stuck on this boss fight for a very long time. Yeah, these two are just, it's annoying. Their breath when they fight is annoying. The fact that they can move is annoying. The camera is a little bit janky. Overall, this fight, I would say, is more annoying than anything else. And I think because of that, I'm going to pop it in D tier. Okay, then up next, we have Lich Dragon Fortisax. Now, I think I've mentioned it before, but I love dragons. I think dragons in any game are absolutely insane. And this is just up there with the greats. I mean, you got a dragon that can throw fucking lightning bolts, man. That is a win anyway. And the fact that, like, it's a common theme amongst dragons in this game is just adds to it. Like the fact that he's got like these dragon wielders. The lore of dragons themselves also adds to it a lot. I think this fight is awesome. The scenery is cool. You know, you got like Godwin the Golden in the background in his like macabre state. You know, the entire surroundings is awesome, I would say. Definitely up there. Awesome movesets, awesome music. I'm going to put this one in A tier. And then keeping with the dragon theme, we are onto the Dragonlord himself, Placidusax. Whatever I had to say about Fortisax is Placidusax times 1000. I remember screaming like a little girl once I got into the intro and just seeing this giant dragon floating in the sky. I think I actually got goosebumps, I'm going to be honest. And that might be a little bit nerdy, but fuck it. This fight is awesome. The camera is a little bit janky, but that is the case with a lot of bosses that are particularly big. So I think it's just something we kind of have to swallow. If it bothers you that much, you could just download a mod to fix camera angles. But overall, this boss is awesome. The music is awesome. His moveset is awesome. His design is probably the best in the game. And I have to add in my opinion here, because obviously not everybody will probably think so. But he's going in S tier for me. Maybe biased, I don't care. I'm putting him in S tier. Thank you. Up next, we have the Fire Giant. And I think this is a pretty cool boss fight. And I've been saying that for everybody. Oh, cool boss, cool this, cool that. But he's actually cool. Okay. His first phase is quite easy to read in terms of like how he attacks. And once you learn it, it becomes quite easy. I think I'm going to put him quite high up in the ranks just because of his phase 2 and how cool and metal it is that he rips off his own appendage and then feeds it to himself, which is awesome. And then that giant eyeball opens up. I remember my first time fighting him, I was like, whoa, okay. I was unfamiliar with the game, big guy, but the fight was cool. Yet again, janky camera angles for this one because it's such a big boss. Something that I always think about is when I play randomizers with bosses in Elden Ring, and I always somehow get him in like the smaller spaces, and it really highlights how good the scene for him was chosen. This giant open like mountaintop in the snow. It's cool contrast with his fire abilities and whatnot. But yeah, I think we're going to put Fire Giant up in A tier. Up next, we have the big dog, Maliketh. Oh man, can I just say, this is probably one of the coolest creatures in fiction. Hands down, one of the coolest creatures in fiction. This thing is awesome. The voice lines for him is awesome. I think he went viral a couple of years ago when Elden Ring first came out, just because his voice lines were so badass that people were making edits of him. and they didn't even know who he was. They just knew the voice lines, and they were like, holy crap, this is a cool character, you know. So I would put him up there. I'm even thinking S tier simply because of his moveset and his abilities. I think his whole shtick with death and destined death and how it affects you while you guys fight just adds to him. His design is fucking awesome. I think I take his armor every time I beat him and I wear it everywhere. It's super cool. His weapon is awesome. His lore is awesome. I think everything about him is great. The music, everything. His boss arena is also top tier. So I'm putting him in S tier. Up next we have the non-gold Godfrey, the OG Godfrey. And I remember this fight, the first time I fought him, I was like, whoa, this is a cool character. And first phase went down quite well after a couple of attempts. Second phase, holy crap, dude, they cooked with this guy. Like, once he gets into second phase and you see like the true warrior in him, and then you see Sorosh, I think this is just like, 10 out of 10 game design right here. Obviously, we still got the same boss arena as when you fight Morgott. I didn't care. This time it was awesome, especially with the tree burning in the background. It was dope. I have nothing bad to say about this fight. I think the whole grappling moveset that he does, and like how you can actually see he's more of a wrestler here. My only gripe is, I don't know if people will agree with me, but I didn't actually find his voice acting that amazing. That might be a very hot take for a lot of people. But otherwise, his design is super cool. It's like fighting Santa if Santa took steroids and was really, really, really strong and mean instead. But at the end of the day, I think he falls into that category where he's just cool. He's just super cool. And I'm going to put him in S tier as well. Up next, we have Radagon. Now, at this point in the story, I think everything's culminated to this point, and it adds so much to it because you feel as a player you are at the finish line. And fighting this guy that's been spoken about, technically Marika too, the entire game, it's really like built very high expectations for this fight. And I think while the arena is quite plain, I think it adds to the focus of him. I think his moveset is awesome. I mean, yeah, it seems a little bit bullshit at first because like you're fighting him and he's teleporting and he's whacking you with like his hammer and you're like, what the fuck? But at the end of the day, it is a cool boss fight. I don't really know if I want to put him all the way up in S rank, just with those heavy hitters that are already there. That's not to say it's not a bad fight though. I think I would put him in A rank. Just because S rank seems too generous and B rank seems a little bit too low for the quality of the boss fight that you're getting. He has a super cool design. I like the whole cracking and falling apart that he's going through. And then obviously his weapon's also fucking awesome. I mean, hammer. Putting Radagon in A tier. And then right after you fight Radagon, you of course fight the Elden Beast. And I think I'm going to catch some flack for this, but this fight was not good at all. I think this boss fight is probably the jankiest you'll see your cameras, and the abilities that he uses is kind of just like random bullshit go, you know. There's nothing really fun about this fight in my opinion. It's a very basic and annoying move set. I think the only thing that this boss fight really gives to itself is the arena itself and its design. I mean, visually this boss fight is very, very cool. I would say that just in general, I mean, as the creature that ends the entire game, you kind of want this to be like a really cool boss fight, and it's not. And I think I was just mostly disappointed after my first playthrough, and it just got even more disappointing with every playthrough because I really feel like they could have done a little bit better for this boss fight. But alas, here we are, and I'm going to put him in B tier. And last but certainly not least, we have the goddess of wrath herself, Malenia. Now, this is a character that needs no introduction. Even if you've never played Elden Ring before, I think you've heard of her. When she was discovered as a boss fight, I think people lost their minds because, yeah, I mean, guys, it's Malenia, you know. She went viral just because of how difficult she was, but unlike other boss fights where it was just plain difficult, this is difficult in the sense that people wanted to beat her no matter what, no matter how many times it took. And I know people that had hundreds of attempts before beating her, and holy crap, the reward you felt after beating her was insane. It felt like drugs, you know. The first time I beat Malenia, I think I cried. and that is a very fair response. In terms of her intro, awesome. Her lore, top tier. Nothing else can beat it. And I think her arena is also very cool, you know, inside the Haligtree and whatnot. I still remember her first phase, beating her and thinking I beat the game. And it also makes me think of that Jinxie meme where he beats her and then he thinks he beat her for good, and then a second phase starts and like your stomach just drops to your asshole because you're like, holy shit, I have to do that again in a more difficult boss fight. Her first phase is super cool. Her second phase, her design there is awesome. I think the whole flowers and butterflies and whatever it is, I can't really tell. It's just visually stunning. There's nothing else I can add to it but that. It's just a good fight. If a bit bullshit with her healing when she hits you, I know it's a bit crap, but it adds to the fact that when you beat her, it feels good. And I think it's only fair that we give her S tier as well. Because, I mean, it's one of, if not the most popular boss fight in Elden Ring. And I enjoyed it, even if I did hate it in the moment. And yeah, that brings us to the end of the video. If you guys did enjoy, please do consider liking and subscribing. I am trying to push out more videos regularly now that I'm back on the horse. We obviously could not add every single boss in Elden Ring, because I think that would just be a little bit crazy. We'd be sitting with like a 4-hour video instead of like a half-an-hour video, and I don't know if you guys are prepared for that. I could do it if you really wanted me to. I would consider it at least. But yeah, that's my ranking video. If you disagree with any of my rankings, don't flame me in the comments, please. You could just like respond and be like, yeah, I actually think this dude should have been B tier instead of C tier or something like that, and then I will check you out and argue with you. No, I'm joking. Yeah, but that is that. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I love you. Bye.